Hi everyone, this is Dr. Mike, host of the free iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike, but that's not why I'm here today. This is another Saving Savvy episode, and in this episode, I'm going to give you my opinion on what Canon cameras, what they're doing right in 2018 or 2017, in other words, in recent times. And I started thinking about that because of this old camera. This is a Canon 7D. Now, I'm a Nikon guy, but I have other cameras too because I'm just some sort of a weird camera fanatic. And I bought this 7D a number of years ago used, and it's still an awesome camera. It takes great pictures. It has really good autofocus. It has a pretty fast burst rate. And I even saw a video on YouTube. I think it's on Digital Rev, where they set this thing on fire and it still worked after it melted, basically after all the rubber melted on it. So so Canon had a reputation for building not only incredibly durable cameras, but really innovative cameras. And of course, they were always in a battle between Canon and Nikon. Who was going to make the best autofocus? Who was going to have the most comfortable grip? And they would go back and forth, back and forth. And they when they were the one of two in town, the one and two shows, they did a pretty good performance. However, things have changed in recent years with very aggressive companies like Sony, which produces really awesome cameras, and other formats like from Olympus and from Panasonic, and they produce also awesome cameras, and retro type companies like Fuji, which produces awesome cameras. And all of a sudden we're seeing this shift going where mirrorless was considered not suitable for professionals. Well, now all of a sudden it's becoming more and more dominant, as of course it would be. So, if this was the height of sophistication in 2009, what is Canon doing now that is either innovative or really camera person centered? And they are doing a few things. Firstly, they have created this dual pixel autofocusing system, which is not quite as fast as a phase detection system, but it really is pretty darn fast and pretty accurate. And the amazing thing is that it works when you just are using the display without an actual phase detector chip. So now you can record video and actually get it to have the camera focus on the subject, or you can pull focus or do many other things because of this very sophisticated system. But that system also works for regular photos too. So now you can compose with your screen if you choose to at, let's say, a casual event, and actually get pretty decent and pretty accurate focus. It's an amazing technology that should not be understated, and of course, it's coming to us from Canon. But I think Canon is doing other things too. So let me show you one of them. So this is a Canon G9X, and I know there's a G9X2 out, but this is what I've got, so this is what I can show you. And this camera looks very similar to a Sony RX100, which is an amazingly awesome camera. And in fact, I would say the RX100 series generally is a little bit better than this camera as far as optical quality, as far as the picture quality. But you know something? If I have to go out and I want a small pocketable camera for some event or some just for fun, for my own casual use, I will more often than not grab this G9X rather than one of my Sony RX100 series cameras. Why? Because it's just a little bit thinner, it's just a little bit lighter, it fits just a little bit better in my pocket. It has a wonderful touchscreen that's very responsive. I usually hate touchscreens. I really like this touchscreen as far as changing settings and just press on it to take a picture and that sort of stuff. It just seems to work better. The bugs are worked out. Someone thought about this process, not an engineer someplace, but a camera lover somewhere, and it's just a really wonderful little camera to use. So they understand that population, us, the photo takers. What's something else that's incredibly innovative? And you know, sir, I'm not showing you, a 5D Mark II or Mark IV or something, right? Because that's just what it is. But here's another very innovative camera. This is the SL2. It's the world's smallest DSLR. It follows the SL1, which was a pretty popular camera. And this really is very, very small for a DSLR. I mean, this has a penta mirror in it and all that kind of stuff. An optical viewfinder. It has a flippy screen. It has some automatic functions. And of course, this is not designed as a professional camera. This is a consumer level camera, but it has plenty bells and whistles as a DSLR would. So you can do many, many, many things with this camera in a very small form factor. How small? Well, just look at the difference between these two cameras. Now, I know this one has a pancake lens, the other one has a zoom lens, but look at that difference. I mean, it's a huge difference. And again, this is much smaller than, for instance, a Nikon 3000 series, their entry-level camera. And so you have this camera that has DSLR functionality, but so do mirrorless cameras nowadays. It does have the optical viewfinder, so you have a nice viewfinder that you can look at if you need to. But really, in many ways, with this dual pixel autofocusing system and a touchscreen, this thing operates more like a mirrorless camera that has an optical viewfinder. So you're saying, Dr. Mike, what's the big deal with that? In fact, Canon does make a mirrorless series, and there's a lot of companies that have mirrorless cameras that have viewfinders, and what's the big deal? Well, I'll show you the big deal. So let me take off this pancake lens, and let me put on this lens. If I can get this off, I will do that. Okay, so now I have an L series lens on this little camera. So this lens is on this camera because this has the regular Canon mount. I didn't have to use an adapter. I didn't have to calculate anything. If I want to do everything automatically, I absolutely can do things automatically because this is a fully compatible lens. So if I want to focus on something, do a little beep. Focus on that microphone there. Beep. Focus there. There. Pretty fast focusing, huh? I mean, I'm not saying it's the fastest in the world, but it's pretty good. And that's because it's all the same mount. All the connections, everything is the same. So basically what Canon has done is they've created a very, very small camera that is compatible with all, if you have Canon lenses, with all of your Canon lenses. You don't have to buy special lenses. You don't have to buy adapters. You don't have to do any kind of weird stuff. You can use all of Canon's really excellent and in many cases fairly inexpensive glass. Now this particular lens is pretty expensive. This is a 16-35 f2.8 that my friend Tom has lent me, but this little 40mm pancake lens is pretty dirt cheap, as are many lenses. For instance, this 18-55 kind of kit lensy kind of thing. I mean, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it certainly is a good enough lens to take pictures with. So you can get inexpensive lenses. You can put on your high-end lenses if you need to. You don't have to buy additional or new lenses, but yet you have the size and convenience of a very small camera that's more consumer oriented. So I think that's really where Canon shines. They shine because they understand that taking pictures is more than specifications. It's actually using that camera and enjoying to use that camera. And I will tell you that I am absolutely not putting down any of these other cameras. I think Sony makes awesome cameras. I have Sony cameras. I think Fuji makes awesome cameras. I have Fuji cameras. I think Panasonic and Olympus make awesome cameras, and yes, I have some of those too. And I have a gazillion Nikon lenses and cameras and all that kind of stuff because that's kind of my thing. So I am not putting, they're all wonderful, but Canon is shifting its focus, probably because they realize that cameras are not going to be the same income stream that they were now with smartphones, but they're certainly not out of the game, and they're still producing compelling products, but surprisingly, their compelling products are in these lower end, less expensive offerings, which I find is just kind of interesting. Anyways, that's my opinion. If you have a different opinion, please put it below. That'd be cool to read it. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, feel free to give me a thumbs down. If you like this channel, I would suggest please subscribe. That makes me want to make more videos. It's a very diverse channel. I talk about a lot about cameras, but I talk about everything else under the sun, whatever I feel like. And if you want to know more about me personally and my philosophy of life and other things, check out my blog. It's drmikekuna.com, drmikekuna.com. And lastly, if you want to know a little bit about how a psychiatrist and psychologist think together, I'm a psychiatrist. My wife's a clinical psychologist. And we have a monthly podcast that you can find. It's called Psychiatric Secrets Revealed on iTunes and other places. This last one was on the difference between gender and sexual orientation. So that was, if that sounds like an interesting topic, you could do that. There was one on the Vietnam era. There's some on the Me Too generation. It's whatever we happen to think about when we're kind of talking back and forth. So if you want to know more about that kind of stuff, give that podcast a listen. Anyway, bye-bye. Have a great day. So long.